So I've seen a lot of discussion on Twitter and in the YouTube comments and all that kind of thing about how you actually are meant to be using this new airburst rifle that comes with the new specialist Zain. And today I'm going to give you just a very quick little video on how this actually works, because like I said, I've seen a lot of confusion. It is a little bit hard to understand initially because they don't really do the best job of explaining it in the game, but I'm just going to quickly run through it with you guys today. So obviously with this being a grenade launcher, I think most people assume that you are essentially just shooting this at the ground, and you know, that's just how generally grenade launchers actually work. And although you can obviously do that, that is not actually the main, I guess, tech behind this thing. It's meant to actually have an airburst element to it as well, which essentially means that you can blow it up in midair. It doesn't have to actually hit the ground to blow up. And it can be really handy for sort of dealing damage to enemies who are behind cover that maybe you can't actually shoot behind that cover, if that makes sense. So one thing you'll notice is that when you zoom in, over on the right there, it's kind of got that little bar. It's actually got two separate bars. You can see the airburst bar on the left and then the RNG bar on the right. Now, as you can see, when I'm moving up, that's obviously going to a further distance. So this is obviously right near me. I'm assuming this is in meters. This is 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters. And obviously you can go up to 100 meters. Now it's set to 15 meters there over on the left. And what that means is that if I shoot this, it actually blows up after 15 meters. Now you can actually change this by pressing down on the D-pad. You can see over there on the right, it actually just says press down on the D-pad to do that. It is a little bit easy to miss that, I guess, but I've seen a lot of people just not sure how to actually do this. But as you can see, if I set this to say 50, I can then press down, and that's set that to, well, for some reason it set it to 51 there, but that has now changed that distance. So no matter where I actually move this, now it's set to 50 meters, or 51 to be exact. So this is really handy for getting enemies who are behind cover that maybe you can't shoot. For example, if someone's behind this, and maybe if I shoot at the ground here, that's actually not going to damage them. Maybe they're over on this side of that. So what you can actually do is essentially set the range to be right next to the cover. So if I press down there, that sets that to 19 meters, which is obviously where that cover is. And then I can simply walk forward just a tiny bit, shoot this, and it's actually going to deal damage behind that cover that I can't usually shoot in that area, because if I tried to shoot to the ground, for example, that might not hit them. They might be too far away over here, and I can't get them from this angle either. Well, maybe I can, because I just blew up all the cover, but you guys know what I mean. If someone's behind this cover that I can't really get at, or for example over here, I can simply set that target. So obviously they're going to be behind that cover there, so I'm going to set that there to about 30 meters, and then all you need to do is just walk forward a little bit, because obviously if you set it to 30 and you are 31 meters away, it'll actually blow up before that cover. But if you walk forward slightly, it's going to deal damage behind the cover. So I've seen a lot of confusion about that, and to be honest, I didn't actually understand this. Me and Sage on the Battlefield show, as we were recording that, Sage actually mentioned to me that you can blow these up before they hit the ground, and I didn't actually know that that was the case. So I jumped on here to try and figure it out, and it is actually pretty obvious once you see that. It actually just says update the airburst range, so it's pretty easy to see now that you guys can see that. But initially I didn't know that. I just thought, oh, it's a grenade launcher, so you just got to shoot at the ground and just blows things up, which, to be fair, that is still a very viable way to use this, but it does have a little bit of extra, I guess, use behind it. So again, this cover here, I can't shoot the enemy who's behind that. Simply set the range to where I need it to be, walk forward just a little bit, and bang, they're going to be taking damage behind that wall. So very handy little tip there that, I guess, you know, it does say it there, but it doesn't make it super obvious that this is something you can do in the game. I do still think for the most part, it's probably still just best to be, you know, by the time you actually sit here and calibrate this thing and everything, it's maybe better to just run around and do that, you know, like it's still a very viable way to play, but this does just add a different element. You can also, if I find an area of the map that, you know, is a better example, so let's just use this little cliff face as an example. Let's just say there's a sniper or a bunch of enemies up here who I can't really get them. Obviously if I shoot a grenade launcher above them, that's not going to do anything. Like, you can't actually deal damage up there. But if there's someone camping just here, I can obviously update that to the range that it needs to be. So setting that to 10 there, bang, you're actually dealing damage above where you normally can with any grenade launcher. That's not usually how grenade launchers work. Obviously you might be able to, in like other games, shoot one way up in the sky that then falls down on them, but that's obviously a pretty tough shot to actually make. So although for the most part this is still, you know, really viable to just use as a grenade launcher like this, it's actually got a very handy little use there where you can actually deal damage essentially above you. I'll try and show another example of what I mean. Over at the C1 flag, let's just say there's a bunch of enemies who are set up in this little sandbagged area, and for example, maybe I can't get up there. I'm pretty sure you can actually just get up that way, but let's just say there's too many up there that I don't really want to risk getting up there. I'm the last one in my squad alive. What I can do is just get here, set the range to be, you know, where it needs to be, which actually looking at it now, and I'm actually figuring this out on the go, that the range, the minimum range seems to be 10. You can see there, it's not actually letting me set it below the 10 meter mark. Whereas now if I change it to there, it will recalibrate to 17. But if I go to 8, it only goes to 10. So that's actually handy to know as well. I've literally just figured that out as I'm playing this. But again, for example, I can get to here, recalibrate that to 10 meters. Bang. They're all taking damage up there. They don't know probably where that's even coming from. It's a really, really handy tip to be able to deal damage above you, which is something that you essentially cannot do with any other grenade launcher. And then obviously on top of that, you can still just play it like a regular grenade launcher. I believe when you aren't ADS'd, it won't blow up. So obviously this is set to 10 meters now. But as you can see, if I'm not scoped in, it won't actually do that. So you can still play both ways. It's a very handy tip to know, and you can probably honestly try and have it set to about 10 meters at all times. And then if I'm coming up on this area, let's just say I'm rushing into this building, I know that it's set to 10. Well, all I need to do is literally just get below those enemies and deal a bunch of damage. So that's a handy little tip that I wanted to make a video on this because I've seen so much discourse about this on Twitter and even in the YouTube comments and stuff like that. A lot of people aren't sure how to use it. To be fair, I had no idea that this was even viable until Sage mentioned something on the podcast. So hopefully that helps you guys out. It definitely adds a different element to playing Zain now, and I think it's going to be really good. Obviously this map doesn't have too much verticality, but on a map like Stranded, for example, this could be really, really solid. So get out there, give this a try, and let me know in the comments whether this is as good as you guys thought it was going to be. That is going to do it for this one though, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.